Hey there, and welcome to today's deep dive. I always find myself really fascinated by these technically demanding fields, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And radiation therapy this time, that really jumped out at me.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like one of those things that requires an amazing amount of technical skill, but then also a lot of heart.
Yeah, and with the rate of cancer diagnoses globally, radiation therapists are becoming even more crucial, really, to healthcare.
So you sent over a few different resources, and this really thorough guide from RoleCatcher. It seems like you're really interested in like the nitty-gritty day-to-day of being a radiation therapist. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about that job?
Well, I think when most people think about it, they probably picture someone like pushing buttons on a huge, you know, very complicated machine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that for
yeah,
sure. But from what I'm looking at in this RoleCatcher guide, there's way more to it than that.
right.
Hmm.
At the core, it is delivering radiotherapy to patients,
Okay.
but it takes an incredible amount of precision. We're talking accurate dosage and delivery. It's not one size fits all.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, it's not like you can just point it in the general direction of a tumor and hope for the best. The guide actually used the phrase spot on, which I thought was really interesting.
Exactly. And that's where the therapist's understanding of patient positioning is critical.
Yeah.
They have to make sure that the radiation is going to target the tumor effectively, but at the same time, minimizing, that impact on the healthy tissue around it.
Right.
So that takes a deep understanding of anatomy, imaging.
Right.
It's a very technical.
Wow, so they're like the sharpshooters of the medical world. uh, okay, that might be a little dramatic, but
Uh,
you get what I mean.
I like it. And here's something else that surprised me, actually, when I was reading through the materials you sent, the emotional support aspect.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that radiation therapists actually spend a lot of time with emotional support and education for their patients?
You know, that's not something that I had really thought about a lot. I guess I think of cancer treatment and I'm thinking about all the medical professionals directly involved in the actual treatment, right? But of course, going through something like that, it takes a huge emotional toll.
Absolutely. It's incredibly stressful and scary for patients.
Hmm.
The RoleCatcher Guide mentions that these therapists oftentimes form really strong bonds with their patients.
Yeah,
They become trusted figures throughout that whole journey,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it's a very human-centered approach to an otherwise very technical field.
It's so important. It sounds like it takes a special kind of person to be able to
Um,
provide that kind of, I guess, support and be that kind of pillar, but then also, handle the technical expertise required.
hmm.
And speaking of the expertise, the guide also really emphasized that this isn't just a learn it once and you're good to go kind of job.
Hmm.
There are different stages to a radiation therapist's career, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a field where you can kind of grow and take on new challenges over time. The role catcher guide, it maps out a pretty clear progression, really. You
Yeah.
start with entry-level roles, maybe you're assisting a more senior therapist,
Okay.
and then you kind of go from there. So it's like an apprenticeship. You're getting that hands-on experience,
Okay.
building up your skills, kind of under the wing of someone who's been doing it for a while.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. It's not like you're just thrown into the deep end right away.
Yeah.
But then what happens after that? Like once you kind of get your feet wet, where can a radiation therapist go from there?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I love about this field. There's a lot of potential for growth.
Okay.
So as you get more experience, more expertise under your belt, you can move into these more senior therapist roles,
Yeah.
take on more responsibility.
Yeah.
You could even specialize in treating a specific type of cancer. Um,
Oh, interesting. So like you could be the person for, say, breast cancer radiation therapy or something like that.
exactly. And if like the leadership route is something that's interesting to you, there's definitely a pathway to, kind of move up into a management position.
Right.
Some therapists even go into research or teaching.
Yeah.
So really kind of shaping the future of the field.
Wow, so many possibilities. So it sounds like the key is to just never stop learning in this job, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the field is constantly changing, always evolving. There are always new technologies, new treatments, new approaches.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's part of what makes it so dynamic and exciting.
Definitely. And I'm actually kind of curious. The guide also mentioned a few certifications like CRT and RRT and ACRT. What are those all about?
Yeah, great question. I mean, those certifications are kind of like they're like gold stars on your resume in this field.
Okay.
It shows a potential employer that you're really committed to professional development, that you're staying up to date. Um,
Right.
and that you really have that knowledge and the skills to deliver like the best patient care.
Yeah.
To break it down a little bit, CRT stands for Certified Radiation Therapist.
Okay.
RRT is Registered Radiation Therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And then ACRT is the Advanced Certified Radiation Therapist.
Oh, okay.
Um, and usually, to get each level, you need some combination of education, work experience, and then you also have to pass like a pretty rigorous exam.
So it's like leveling up in a video game, except instead of fighting monsters, you're helping people fight cancer.
Definitely way cooler.
Yeah, way cooler.
And it's not all about the the letters after your name either, although that's definitely it carries weight. But pursuing those certifications, that can open doors to new opportunities, maybe higher pay, even just more job satisfaction, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about kind of the technical skills involved, the emotional intelligence, like how a career in this field can progress. If there's someone out there listening and they are totally inspired and they're thinking like, this is it, this is the career for me,
Mm.
what are some other things that they need? What does it really take to thrive as a radiation therapist?
That's such a good question, and it's such an important one.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a passion for helping people,
Mm-hmm.
especially people who are going through a tough time.
Right. Like that empathy and that compassion. I mean, those are things that you can't really teach.
Exactly. You really can't. You need to have a strong moral compass in this line of work,
Right.
for sure. And of course, you need to be able to stay calm under pressure, be detail-oriented, have excellent communication.
It's interesting you mentioned communication because I'm thinking about it and it's like, it's not just explaining complex, medical stuff to patients, but it's also about providing that emotional support
Absolutely.
and building that trust.
Absolutely. It's not just about being able to communicate clearly, but being able to, listen to your patients,
Yeah.
really be empathetic, be able to connect with them on a human level, understand where their fears are coming from, what their anxieties are,
Right.
and then just being able to provide that reassurance, that support,
Right.
throughout that whole process.
Okay, so let's say someone is like totally on board with everything that we've talked about. They
Yeah.
want to learn more about radiation therapy. What, like, where should they go? I mean, we've talked about this RoleCatcher guide, but are there any other resources that you recommend people check out?
Yeah, the RoleCatcher Guide is definitely a great place to start, for sure.
Yeah.
It has like tons of insights, and it even has like this super helpful interview question guide, which is really handy
Oh, yeah.
if you're serious about going down this path.
Yeah. And they had that alternative titles section, which I thought was pretty cool because it
Yeah.
kind of lets you see like, what else is out there.
Yeah.
Like maybe you decide, actually, I'm more interested in nuclear medicine or I want to be a radiographer. All that stuff is in there.
Exactly. And I would also say don't underestimate just networking.
Okay.
Talking to people in the field, because there's a lot to be said for that. A few professional organizations, I would recommend checking out things like the American Society of Radiologic Technologists. It's ASRT.
Okay.
There's also the Association of Medical Dosimetrists.
Okay.
That's the AAMD.
Okay.
And then the American Registry of Radiologic Technologists, the ART. And these are great resources for a number of reasons. You
Yeah.
can connect with other professionals.
Yeah.
You can find continuing education opportunities.
Right.
And just stay up to date on kind of what's going on in the field, what are the trends, that kind of thing.
Okay, so before we wrap up our deep dive into the world of radiation therapy, we wanted to leave you with something to kind of think about, a little food for thought as you're exploring this career path. And with all the advancements that we're seeing in medical technology, AI is becoming more and more prevalent.
Right.
And it really makes you wonder, like, what role will AI play in the future of radiation therapy? It's kind of mind-blowing to think about, Like,
Yeah.
will it become this super-powered assistant helping therapists be even more precise, more effective?
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, imagine AI algorithms analyzing scans, maybe even optimizing the treatment plan, like in real time,
Wow.
even flagging potential issues before they even come up. That would be incredible.
That's amazing. But I also wonder, like, could it ever actually replace the human element of this job?
Yeah.
Could a machine ever really provide that same level of emotional support and connection that a human therapist can?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because while it's true that AI can analyze data and to some extent even, kind of mimic human conversation, when it comes to something like cancer care, I think there are just some aspects of human interaction that are irreplaceable.
Totally. That human touch, the empathy, just that ability to be there for someone during such a difficult time in their life, I
Mm,
mean, that's something really special.
it is. And I think as technology keeps evolving, it's going to be more and more important to find that balance,
Yeah.
between using the power of AI, but also maintaining that human element, because
Yeah.
at the heart of it, radiation therapy, it's about people.
That's such a good point. Well, this deep dive has been, honestly, it's been really eye-opening. And it's amazing to think that there are these incredible people out there every day who are blending this amazing technical expertise with such compassion to make a difference in the lives of these patients.
I couldn't agree more, yeah. It's a challenging field, but it's so rewarding.
So, to everyone listening, if you're feeling inspired, if you're intrigued by this idea of a career that combines this cutting edge technology with such a strong human connection, I would say go for it. Look into radiation therapy, explore it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Dive into those resources, talk to some people who are already in the field and just see if it might be a good fit for you.
And who knows, maybe you're the one who's going to be out there developing some, incredible AI-powered tool or leading the way in patient care as a radiation therapist in the future.
To your health and success.
That's a wrap on today's deep dive into the world of radiation therapy. We hope you found this exploration informative, maybe even a little bit inspiring. Until next time, keep those minds curious and stay well.